to come up or to successfully complete the target or complete successfully completing the task whatever is assigned to that person. The topics, it varies from divine herbs, starting from herbs and the meditation, art of living, spiritual essence of men, spirituality and science, how those two can be, connected together. Science behind Indian tradition and culture, because that has got very important role in understanding things of biology fields and subconscious mind, and of course cleansing, energizing ROs and programming your subconscious mind. My friend Dr. G. Maheshwaran is going to talk about that, and many more topics like magic, prana, and pranic healing, and of course people have touched upon Reiki also. Reiki is it's a kind of it's again dealing with energy and meditation. All these topics are really interesting, and I should really thank Dr. Venkatesh for having chosen so many subtopics and right persons to deliver on such a kind of topics today and next 5 days to come. So I as a head of the institution, I am really happy to be a part of this program. And I told Dr. Venkatesh Raja, even I am very much interested in attending this program. So whenever there is a time for me, definitely I would also attend, at least if not all the topics given over here, at least, some of the topics which is close to my heart. Definitely, I would also join my hands with you all. And thank you, Dr. Venkatesh Raja, for having invited me for, giving inaugural address for this program. And I wish you all the best. And I believe that, all the members, 200 participants are going to be really benefited. We may have to see at the end of the day, whether they are all going with a lot of energy and a lot of information about bioenergy and subconscious mind. Thank you, one and all, for joining for this program and for having invited me for this program. Thanks a lot, and I wish you all the best. Have a great day.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir, for your excellent presidential address, and also you have touched all aspects, and you have highlighted all the important topics of the program to the participants. Sure, your speech might have given and highlight about the program. So once again, despite of your busy schedule, you have joined this inaugural. So I thank you very much, sir. Yeah, yeah. Next,
Welcome.
I would like to invite our. Yeah, thank you, sir. So next, I would like to invite our most respected head of the department and Dean Student Affairs, Dr. Sendil Kumar, sir. So to deliver one more presidential address to this faculty development program. So now I invite sir to deliver his address. Thank you, sir.
Very good morning, one and all present in this session. So the topic is not our regular subject. It is somewhat deviates from the our engineering. It is not exactly deviation, but this is also because this is energy. It is also related to our core engineering only. So once we understand this, we can we come to know that it is also part of the engineering studies. So in our college, we submitted 5 proposals for this FTP, ADAL FTP. Out of this, we received this one FTP, that is this human energy field, bioenergy field. So definitely because of this title attracted, so that's why we received this ADAL FTP this time. Uh, so this is the first FTP we are conducting this bioenergy, or somehow deviate from our regular subjects. So this is quite interesting to attend this FTP. And generally, um, science has not touched upon the human bioenergy field. Still, it is less understanding we have on this bioenergy field. So that's why the coordinator has given the title Secrets of Human Bioenergy Field. Definitely it is still it is a secret only. Still lot more things are required to understand completely the bioenergy field. So definitely it is quite interesting, and many of us may start our research on this bioenergy field. Definitely. But in many of the countries called this bioenergy field in different names, like in Indian Ayurveda called this prana Sakti. In Chinese it is called Chai, Japanese it is Ai. And like that, only very less people population in the world is understanding this bioenergy field. But the rest of the people, for them it is secret only. Even for us also it is secret only. The subatomic particles. We have studied that atom is the finest particle, and after that it is discovered that there are electron, neutron, proton. Those are all the finest particle. After that, now in the recent years, it is discovered that there are tiny particles which is lesser than the proton electrons. What this is called a God's particle. So these God's particle penetrates the any object. So these tiny particles penetrates. They may get inside us and it may leave us. So when it leave us, it may take some information about our organs. What this energy that is called aura, which is glowing over the body, not only human body, animals, vegetation, everything has the bioenergy. So finally, this bioenergy is a part of the universe, Prapancham. Yeah. So we are also part of the Prapancham that you may understand at the end of this course. Definitely. I congratulate the coordinator and his team for choosing that interesting topic. Definitely, we will go to the another level. So the meditation, pranayam, all those things, healing, all those things. These are all new for us, and we can understand what is the science behind this. That is also very important. Our ancestors produced or they invented these methods like pranayam and all those things, but they have not revealed the science behind it. But now it is a must to understand everyone the science of these exercises. So definitely this will and this also the essential one requirement of this hour, because of our lifestyle is completely changed, full of stress. So to relieve from the stress, we need all these things. We have to understand the human bioenergy field and the subconscious mind. So the need of this hour, this topic. Once again, I congratulate the team, coordinator and his team. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for your excellent speech, sir. So you have touched all aspects of energy. In fact, you started as an engineer. You have started with the concept of energy, and you have ended how to connect with the cosmic energy. That is how to connect our body with the higher soul. That is the cosmic energy. So your topic has definitely enlightened us. And at this junction, I would like to wholeheartedly thank both our head of the institution, principal sir, and HOD sir for giving us permission, necessary permission to apply for this particular topic to AICTE FDP. So without both of their support, this program wouldn't have been possible. So once again, I would like to I express my sincere gratitude and thanks to our beloved management, principal sir, and HOD for giving us this wonderful opportunity. So thank you, sirs, for joining in this inaugural session. So thank you very much, sir. And so next, I would like to invite Dr. KG Saravanan to say a few words about Sono College of Technology, so as well as the Department of Mechanical Engineering. So, Professor KG Saravanan, it's over to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. So, very good morning to one and all present here. Respected principal, sir. Respected HOD, sir. A special morning to you. So, I am very happy to be a part of this program, Atal FTP. So, first, I would thank our management, principal, and our beloved HOD who approved for this Atal FTP in a successful manner. I'm really happy and proud to say about our institute. So it's not quite easy to deliver about my institution in a few of minutes, but I will try to add the futures of our institute. So we are the group stepped into 100th year since before the pre-independence. So it was started by Kalvi Thandai Karumuthu Tyagaraja. And our SONA has been established in the year of 1997. And we are going to enter into the 25th year as a Silver Jubilee. So under our lovable chairman, Sri Valliyappa, and our vice chairmen, Chokku Valliyappa and Tyagu Valliyappa. So in the dynamic leadership, so we are running the institution in a successful manner. Then about the course we have in the institute are, we have 10 UG courses and 11 PG courses, including the MBA studies and the MCA studies. So we have the consistent award-winning institute for the past 10 years. And we are located in the heart of the Salem city. It is very connected by means of roadways and also trainways. About our department, with the dynamic leader, Dr. D. Sendil Kumar, we are having a good and industry need curriculum and syllabus for the benefits of students as well as the faculty. So every year we are updating our syllabus and the curriculum based on the industry needs. And we have enough faculty strength with the PhD qualification, and a few of our faculty are doing the PhD program right now. About co-curricular activities and about extracurricular activities in our department, we are having a strong enough. So every year, our students are participating in various competitions and won the very attractive prizes. And particularly about the placements, we have focused on training and what the industries needs. That requirement has been provided to the students, and obviously we got the success on every year in terms of placements. So with this, hope everyone know about our SONA Institute in a little bit manner. And this session will be useful for all the participants, including us. So it is a great experience for us to conduct in a such a topic like human bioenergy fields and subconscious mind. So thanks for this opportunity to deliver about our institute and department. Once again to the management, principal, HOD, and our coordinator, Dr. K. Vendesh. Now, I would like to call Dr. Venkatesh Raja to carry over the session. Thank you, Anandal. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. KG Saravanan, for giving a very good insight about our Sona College of Technology. We are running out for the betterment of the students. So as well as you have also explained about our department. So thank you very much. And so as the coordinator of this FTP, I would like to quote so a few points so regarding the contents of this faculty development program. So initially we are going to start with the historical concepts, right? Initially, we are going to start with Indian historical concepts. So, and thereby, we are going to slowly proceed with the introduction of human bioenergy fields. So, the concept of auras, the concept of chakras. So, later then, we will be moving on to programming your subconscious mind. Okay, we will be moving on to program your subconscious mind. So, and then in the forthcoming sessions, we will be dealing with the pranic healing. It is a very interesting technique. So we'll be having some live sessions also in pranic healing. So and as our principals are explained, we'll be dealing with the cosmic. We'll be dealing with the Reiki healing also. So among the 14 different sessions, we may be having some live sessions in any of the 2 or 3 programs. So probably out of the 14 sessions, 3 or 4 programs will be in the form of a live session. So even in the afternoon session, that is session 2 of today, I'm going to just give an introduction about the feel of energy. So you can feel the energy so within your hands, within your palm for about so 10 to 15 minutes. So likewise, so we have planned the program in such a way that you can have both theoretical experience as well as some practical experience. And so as the coordinator of this program, I would like to what is it? I expect your wholehearted participation in the program. And since it is a life skill enhancement program, so I request all the participants to attend this program in a very relaxed, peace and calm place so that the transformation could be maximum in all aspects. And your high receptive nature is required for this program in order to attain those transformation. So right now, I don't want to take much of your time. So directly we can move on to session 1, that is introduction to ancient historic Indian topics and 18 Siddhas. So this session will be handled by Dr. Ranjit Kumar, who is working as assistant professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering at our own host institution, that is Sona College of Technology. So Dr. Ranjit Kumar is having an academic experience of about 15 years in this field. So moreover, he is very interested in the areas of spiritual and healing aspect. Is continuously practicing those concepts both in the homes, and he has also conducted. He has given various speeches in this particular area. So that's why we have invited him to connect with you all in the first session. So, and of course, basically he's a mechanical engineer. He did his doctorate program in the area of optimization and nano coatings. That's his specialization. So apart from so as our respected HOD has pointed out, so even though we all are from engineering and other academic background, so this particular science paves the ways for all basic needs to enlighten ourselves. So that is the main concept. So that's why, as our HOD told it, as our HOD and our principals are quoted, it remains as a secret to most of the persons. So these kind of concepts are only being taught in various spiritual schools in a very restricted fashion. So in this program, we wanted to give an insight and an overview about all the concepts of self-healing and self-enlightenment. That is the main aim and motto of this program. And now I would like to invite Dr. Ranjit Kumar, and the session is over to him. So, Dr. Ranjit, you can continue the session. Thank you very much. And participants, if you are having any clarifications, you can ask us, or directly we can move on to the session. Yeah, I hope everyone is clear with that. So directly we will move on to the
sir.
session. Dr. Ranjit, you can. It's all to you.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Professor Venkateswara. Okay, good morning to one and all present here. Once again, I welcome all the participants from all over India to take part in this 5 days faculty development program. I am Dr. Ranjit Kumar. I will be handling your first session. My first session would be Indian spirituality concepts and about 18 Siddhas. Let us start with Indian spiritual concept. Before moving into spiritual concept, actually, we should be very much proud of our country, because we have lots of gurus and saints. We have a very good history. In fact, the greatest history ever for any country in the world. We have a spirituality and being a culture. We follow a culture that has the longest duration of evolution of philosophy from 100 to 1000 AD, in fact. And in fact, if you add the period of Buddha, Mahavira, and Samkhya around 500 BC, and the period of medieval Bhakti movement, which started from South India from the period 1100 to 1800, we can see that in India, more than in any other culture, spirituality has been emphasis for almost 2000 years of recorded history. So this kind of history you cannot find in any other country. We do various phases of this philosophy. Various philosophies are taught or followed by various people, various gurus. We do have various saints, gurus followed by them, their followers, and their followers, and keep on doing that one for thousands of years now. So we do have a very great history. So first, it is necessary for us to know about our history. So at least we have to remember some of the names who have contributed to our this great country. Before moving into gurus, let us see first Indian typology of leaders. We talk about leaders in the sense that even sannyasis or gurus become leaders. So let us give a overview about some of the leaders. There are 4 types of leaders generally. They are sannyasi leaders, karma yogi leaders, pragmatic leaders, and legitimate non-leaders. We call them as 4 types of leaders. First, let us start with sannyasi leaders. You can see there. There are many actually. We cannot count them, but still for this purpose, let us lighten some of them. So let us start with Swami Vivekananda Ramakrishna Mission. We know that how much he has impressed our youths in the country, and everyone knows about him, his concepts and his teaching, the way he spoken about the culture, and the way he presented himself in Chicago. Everyone knows that one, he started as calling everyone as brothers and sisters. That actually turned the tide over our Indian country. Still he is influences many persons, particularly students and youths, and his contribution, wonderful contribution to our India, the great nation, and the way we take pride about him is uncountable. Likewise, we can talk about Swami Yoganand. We started a Yoganand Satsang Society in India and Self-Realization Fellowship internationally. These are sannyasi leaders. They actually contributed. They created many followers and all, and the way they presented themselves to the society are immense. Then Swami Shivanand, Divine Life Society, who formed that one. Let us move to Maharishi. Just I am naming them. If you want to discuss them in detail, I think we may not have enough time. So let us just name them and look at them and how much they have contributed. Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, Transcendental Meditation and Vedic University form, wonderful saint to say. And Sri Prabhupada, who formed the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, ISKCON. You might have, if you might have visited in Bangalore, there is a wonderful temple for ISKCON. Actually, you can feel there. Whenever you visit there, you can feel there. There is also a wax statue of Swami Sri Prabhupada kept there. And it is a wonderful feeling you would have whenever you go there, you can feel them. These are the type of leaders. We call them as a sannyasi leaders. Actually, we are focused on people. And let us look at the second type of leaders. They are Karma Yogi leaders. Who can be called as a Karma Yogi leader? A leader who focuses on work without paying attention to the fruits of work would fit this category. A leader who influences everyone, who actually gives their life for the society, and they does not actually think about what they get back from the work they do. These are some of the leaders we call that as a Karma Yogi leaders. And we know the history. Noble kings like Harichandra, Raghu, Rama among them, we call them as Karma Yogi leaders because they sacrifice their entire life for the people and the well-being of the people. Even we know our Mahatma Gandhi was how much impressed by the story of King Harichandra. So based on that, his entire life has been changed. Even he became Mahatma. Likewise, many modern prototypes for Karma Yogi leaders like Maharana Pratap, Shivaji, Tilak, Rajaram Mohan Rai, Mahatma Gandhi, Vinoba Bhave, Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Morachi Desai. These kind of the leaders, actually, we can mention some of them. Freedom fighters, they sacrificed their entire life for our society. In fact, they didn't expect anything from the society. They actually worked for the people. So only they think about the people and well-being of the people. So that we call that as a Karma Yoga leaders. Even we have more leaders. Many of them may think about many people or many freedom fighters came there from own states even. So I'm just generally mentioning some of the names. And other freedom fighters involved in the period of period where we got that freedom, and also they sacrificed their lives, and totally they contributed to the society and well-being. Some of the business leaders, even Birla and Tata, may also fit this prototype. I said this one even in the Tata group, actually how much they involved in the period where we were suffering for the last year. They have helped in the government in many ways, by financially, by supporting even their production also design. You can see that they think about people, they think about safety concern first, then they go for luxury or aesthetic appearance again. So these are some of the things always they might be thinking about the people, what they give back to the people, where they earn. These are all type of leaders. We call that as a Karma Yogi leaders. Next, let us see some of the pragmatic leaders. What is the difference between these type of leaders and other type of leaders? These leaders does not fit into that two categories, that is sannyasis and or Karma Yogis. They generally work for the general public well-being. Let us name some of the politicians we know. Recent Indian prime ministers like respected Indira Gandhi, Charan Singh and Atal Bihari Vajpayee, or business leaders like Dhirubhai Ambani, the founder of the Reliance Group, and Ratan Tata may fit this typology. These are some of the type of the leaders. We call it as a pragmatic leaders. They actually, until their last breath, actually they lead for the country, and they actually want to do something for the society. They want to give back something for the society, everything. So these are the type of leaders. We generally call that as a pragmatic leaders. And the last type we call that as a legitimate non-leaders. These type of leaders actually does not comes into limelight. So always they used to do some work whenever they are given an opportunity. For example, a government funded and supported organizations, they have given a task to have to do for some period of time. For example, they have to work for a period of a time, 5 to 6 years, 10 years, 15 years, even a year or two, so that they can finish the task completely, then go back. So there are many type of leaders. You can see there judges working for the Supreme Courts, High Courts, even chief ministers, some of the ministers, the government officials, organizers who are working in the different organization, even head of the institutions, teaching institutions, hospitals, doctors, deans. You can see these doctors in this period of working, their sacrifice, everything, teachers, everything are becomes under this one. Let us say, for example, let us see one example. You might remember the T.N. Seshan. Once he was the Chief Election Commissioner of India during the 90s. Actually, he was given a task. Before that, we can see in Election Commission of India, just they were just an audience like looking at the every time when the elections come and go. So when he came given the power at that some time, he actually changed everything. We may remember that he actually given the first given the ID card for the voters even. From there everything started. Then they started the election commissioners who followed him actually created many rules and regulations. Whatever we still know. Because you can see nowadays there are not disturbances in case of posters. Also, there is limits for every candidate to spend in every election. These are all fixed nowadays. So these comes into power. He had done a very good job. In a period, he was given that task. So he completed this task. Later, he went on to become a politician later. That's different. These type of legitimate non-leaders, they do their task completely when they do. Whatever they are given for a small or a longer period of a term, when they complete this term, and they do that work brilliantly, they make a very good impact and also show the way for the followers, then they simply they leave. They do not make any big mark over that one. These are type of the leaders we call it as a legitimate non-leaders. And let us see some of the Indian saints and spiritual gurus who in India, particularly in India. As we talk about saints and spiritual gurus, who is a guru? That's a question. So anyone may be a guru. There is no particular qualification or designation for a guru. Anyone may become a guru, or anyone can decide another person as a guru. That's because of what they are influenced by them. A person who gives us a solution for our problem. It may be a different type of problem, very simple type problem, or a very huge problem which actually irritates us. It does not, it keeps us restless. Sometimes we get the solution from some person who may be our superior, who may be some kind of some of our teachers, maybe sometimes we get some solutions from our friends, colleagues, even from younger persons we meet, sometimes from children, some from cartoon characters even. So we do get these solutions. So every person has some kind of a problem, they come out of this one. So these are the people we call that as gurus. Particularly when it comes to spirituality and spirituality gurus, people we think decides a person or chooses a person, or a guru sometimes chooses his follower. So sometimes if you look upon this one, everyone has a some of a guru and follows them. Let us see some of the gurus which spiritual gurus and saints which India has seen. Actually, this actually starts from 600 BC. These are only recorded history. So if you go for a non-recorded or a story, then it goes much beyond. So let us start from recorded history. So let us see first from 600 BC, Charvaka. What is this Charvaka? It's a philosophical school of thought developed in India. It actually based on 4 Vedas, Rig Veda, Samaveda, Yajurveda, and Atharvana Veda. So these are the 4 Vedas we know very much. We even studied about them in school days. These Vedas formed based on these Vedas. Philosophical school. It is a school of a thought. Actually, it is a thought and a system. It is developed in India. So this was developed in a long back, that is BC 600. People used to do that one, thought that one. People learned this one, followed everything based on this 4 Vedas. Particularly, we cannot say a particular guru here, but it is a philosophical school of thought. Then we come back to Mahavira, who is also called as Vardhamana. Mahavira is regarded as the man who gave Jainism in its present day form. So Jainism, which is followed in the current day, it was actually created by Lord Mahavira. So before that, lot of many people actually thought this one, but it evolution has changed, and also it changed very much. And the current form of Jainism actually given by Mahavira himself. Then Gautama Buddha, he is the founder of the religion of Buddhism. His teaching is based on his insight into arising of dukkha. That means the unsatisfactoriness of clinging to impermanent states and things. So how much we satisfy with the things what we got, and every time we feel unsatisfactory about something when we look upon other things other than and also about the ending of Dukkha, the state is called Nirvana. These are the things he thought about Gautama Buddha. He has a very vast history. We learned about him. He's one of the spiritual gurus. Still people follow this as a religion in various parts of the world. We know that one. And, let us move on to 400 BC. Jaimini was an ancient Indian scholar who founded the Mimamsa school of Hindu philosophy, one of the spiritual gurus, and it was also followed for some time, some people. Then BC 400, Kannada is a philosopher, the Hindus a sage who founded the philosophy of Vaisheshika. Kannada is a form of a raga group, a group of ragas in Hindustani music particularly. We can see music can also be a thought. It can be considered as a kind of a meditation. Still it is has been followed. Then we go for BC 200, the Thiruvalluvar. Simply we call that as a Valluvar. He is from Tamil Nadu, born in Mylapore, and was a great philosopher, scholar. Actually, Tamil, we call him as a Tamil poet. He written 1330 Tirukural, starting from birth to death. He connected everything and how to rule, what is the work, or how you get motivated, thought about the reigning, agriculture, about king, about people, love and affection, everything he covered. Is author of a Tirukural. Definitely a person should at least read one Tirukural a day so that his life changes. You might have seen in the recent days our Honorable Prime Minister of India, whenever he addresses Modi ji, whenever he addresses the public, he used to quote one Tirukural every time, because we are a lot of things to learn from Tirukural. Everyone has a valuable point in the Tirukural. So it covered ethics, politics, economics matters, everything he covered that one. So everyone has a reason to read this one. Then we can move from BC to AD. Then we can see Ammalvar, a great scholar, a poet. He started many poems. He wrote many poems about Mahavishnu. Still we are following. Some of the songs are used, and we can hear this in temples in nowadays. And his followers are created many, impacted on the Tamil literature. One of the great saints also. Next, we go for Tirunavukarasu. Also, it is called as Acharya Upper. Wonderful work done by Tirunavukarasu. He used to clean every Shivan temple. Many people believe that he has directly blessed by Lord Shiva himself, and he cleaned all the Shiva temple wherever he is. He spent entire life for serving for the people of people who come to temple, and taught many literature. Wonderful contributor to the literature, and still his Tiruvasagam has been read in every temples. You can hear that one. Wonderful stories, wonderful motivational speeches. It is written a wonderful value for particularly Tamil literature. Next, after that 660 AD, we can see Sri Manikavasagar. He was working as worked as a minister in rule of Pandya kingdom. Then later he thought that he has some other things to do, so he came out of the resign and he built a Shiva temple at Tirupurandurai, and also he is a wonderful scholar for Tamil literature. Wrote many songs about Lord Shiva. Wonderful scholar, teacher, saint, guru. Next, if you go for Bhakta Kamban, so because the list goes on very long, let us just name them. 700 AD, we can see that Bhakta Kamban, and after him 788 to 828 Adi Sankara. So now revolutionary thing is done in those periods that are unimaginable. Wonderful contribution to our Indian society. Then 800 Bhaskara, 824 to 924 Acharya Nadamani, and 900 Gorakhnath, 953 to 1053 Yamunacharya, 1017 to 1137 Ramanujacharya, 1100 Akka Magadevi, 1105 to 1167 Saint Basaveswar, 1135 to 1229 Khwaja Moinuddin Chisti, and 1138 to 1162 it is Nimbar, 1172 to 1165 Baba Farid. 1186 Baba Kutubuddin Bakhtiyar Kaki, 1173 to 1266 Sheikh Farid, also called as Baba Farid, 1199 to 1278 Madhavacharya, and 1200 it is Jaideva. We may see that lots of saints and gurus are has been recorded. So because they are many numbers, actually we have lots and lots of things to learn about everyone individually, but we do not have that much time. So I take this as an opportunity just to name them. During the period of 1238 to 1356, we can see Hasrat Nizamuddin Alia. And 1253 to 1325, Amir Khusro. 1270 to 1350, Namdiyo. 1272 to 1293, Saint Jnaneshwar. 1290 to 1381, recorded period, Sharfuddin Maneri. During the period of 1308 to 1399, Lal Didi of Kashmir. 1314 to 1384, Syed Ali Hamadani. 1360 to 1470, Ramananda. 1370 to 1450, Sri Potana. 1377 to 1439, Sheikh Nuruddin Nand Rishi. 1400 to 1499, Shri Narsim Saraswati. 1400, Sayana Nabi. 1440 to 1518, Kabir. 1440, Ravidas, also called as Raidas. 1449 to 1569, Shankar Deva, Vaishnate. These are the spiritual gurus or saints who have been recorded in this period. Then from 1469 to 1533, the great Guru Nanak, still we have lakhs of followers. We have temples and worshipping him. And 1479 to 1531, Sri Vallabhacharya. 1479 and 1584, Surdas. Year of 1482, Sri Purandar Das. 1485 to 1534, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. 1506 to 1552, Saint Francis Xavier. 1530 to 1624, Tulasidas. 1533 to 1599, Eknath Maharaj. And during the period 1544 to 1603, Dadu. 1547 to 1614, Mirabai. And 1588 to 1644, Sri Narayan Bhattacharya. 1607 to 1649, Tukaram. 1608 to 1681, Ramdas. 1608 to 1888, Mahatma Thailang Swami. And during the period 1620, Singaji. And if you go for 1620 to 1700, Saint Bahina Bai. And 1666 to 1708, we can see Guru Gobind Singh. 1703 to 1810, Saint Bulesha. 1759 to 1809, it is Gauribai. 1767 to 1847, Sri Tyagraj. 1772 to 1833, Rajaram Mohan Rai. 1781 to 1830, Sri Swami Narayan. 1785 to 1867, Gunatirthan Swami. Then 1800 to 1880, Swami Samartha Akalkot. 1801 to 1882, Jalram Baba. 1870 to 1965, Maharishi Devendranath Tagore. 1817, it is Manik Prabhu. 1880 to 1878, Samji of Agra. 1824 to 1883, Maharishi Dayanand Saraswati. 1828 to 1895, Sri Lahiri Mahashaya. And if you go for the period 1829 to 1887, Bhakatji Maharaj. And 1835 to 1918, Sai Baba of Sridi. We can see lakhs and lakhs of followers. We are following Sri Sridi Sai Baba all over the world, still worshipped, and prayers are going. Here you can see many followers. We can see in 1836 to 1886, it's Ramakrishna, and 1839 to 1903, Babaji of Bees. 1838 to 1884, it is Keshav and Chandra Sen. 1840, Tariq Gonda Venkampa. 1840 to 1905, Anand Mohan Bose. 1847 to 1925, Srinath Shastri. 1853 to 1920, Mata Sharda Devi. 1853 to 1924 is Sri Chattambi Swamigal. 1855 to 1928, Sri Narayana Guru. 1858 to 1948, Sawan Singh Ji Raj. 1863 to 1902, Swami Vivekananda. We have already spoken about him and its contribution, everything. And in 1865 to 1951, Brahma Swarup Satya Sri Maharaj. In 1872 to 1950, Sri Aurobindo Ghosh. Next, we go for 1873 to 1906. It is Ram Tirtha, and 1910, Janan Maharaj of Shahun, and 1878 to 1973, the mother of Aurobindo Ashram. 1879 to 1950, Bhagavan Raman Maharishi. 1886 to 1940, Sri Narayan Maharaj of Kedagan. 1887 to 1963, Swami Shivananda Saraswati. 89 to 1950, Swami Sahajan Saraswati. 1992 to 1971, Brahma Swarup Yogiji Maharaj. 1893 to 1952, Brahmanand Yoganand. 1894, Sadhu Sundar Singh. 1895, 1986, J. Krishnamurti, we call as a JK. And 1895 to 1986, 1896 to 1982, Ananda Mohima. And 1896 to 1977, Swami Prabhupada ISKCON Temple. 1897 to 1981, Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj. And 1904, 1963, Thakur Sri Abhiram Paramahans. So almost we reached our independence. 1908 to 1982, Swami Muktanand. 1916 to 1993, Swami Chinmayananda. And 1921 to Pramukh Swamiji Maharaj. 1913 to 1990, Osho Rajneesh. 1928, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. And from 1926, Sai Baba of Puttaparthi Sai Baba, we can see. Most of the gurus and spiritualities, as we speak about recorded history, we tend to discuss only about the recorded person. If I might have missed some of the gurus or saints, kindly I request the participants to let me know, so that we also have a chance to know about them. So you can see there, we have just listed the recorded history of the gurus and saints which our incredible India has. So you can see lots and lots of gurus and saints we have, and everyone had a philosophy. Everyone has many followers to follow, and their followers have taken their literature or whatever they taught them, teached them, and everything has been recorded and everything has been followed still now. So considering this and all, we have our history. You can see it is a huge amount of contributions done by various saints and gurus. So these are the type of history we cannot see in any other countries, because it will be very simple, but we have a different type of culture everywhere, because India is made up of different states, different culture they follow, different philosophy we follow. We think it is a very good opportunity to share this from one part of the India to other part of the India. So the participants also from different states, almost from 23 different states of our India. So it is a very good opportunity for us to know about various gurus and saints from other part of the India as well. So if you see there, their contribution towards our culture and their society, you can see we have a very great and a proud history and culture we have to follow. These are some of the gurus letters I have mentioned. Let me move on to Siddha. Siddha medicine, everything came from this word. Let us see some of the introduction and history. Okay. And the Siddha system, before going into deep into Siddha, let us start with the Siddha system of medicine. The Siddha system of medicine is mainly practiced in the southern part of India. It is one of the earliest traditional medicine system in the world, actually, which treats not only the body but also mind and the soul. That is very important about this type of Siddha and Siddha medicine, because nowadays we get treatment. Of course, we treat our body, but what about the mind? Because a person when gets ill, it gets ill by body and also by mind. So something he needs a motivation to come up with something out of illness, get back to the normal life. He needs some motivation. That means his mind also has to be treated. So nowadays the treatment are given. Even you can see there, even if someone falls ill or some kind of treatment he takes, then we somehow we save their life, or we once again cure their body. But you can see there are some side effects happening, so that because of that one some other problems which follows with this one. So these are happening. So this Siddha actually created in a long way. It has a very great tradition. It will be very interesting actually who created this one. and also how this followed, how it is followed by who actually taken this one to this level. These are very good concept actually, because it also, as I said, this treats not only the body but also the mind and also the soul. So once you get practiced to this type of Siddha medicine, so you get 100% cure. That is, we call that as a Siddha. Actually, the word Siddha, as its origin in Tamil, of a word which is called as a Siddhi. What does that mean? Actually, it means a object to be attained. So whenever an object to be attained, you want to get that object, focus on something, you want to get that one. Simply, you can say in a simple word, it is a perfection. Or you can also call it as a heavenly bliss. Actually, it is called as a Siddhi. From that, that word Siddha is came. You can see that perfection. What is a perfection? 100% without any error. We call that as a word perfection. So attaining this perfection actually is called as a Siddha. We know that India is being the birthplace of many traditional philosophies, not only Siddha, various philosophies. It also gave birth to this particular concept of Siddha. These roots of this system are intertwined with the culture of ancient Tamil civilization also. So once again, if you go for this Siddha type of treatment, most of the treatment have been written in the form of songs, so that if you go read that song, then from that you will get a person who teaches other person, you will get a permanent cure. As I said, it is a kind of a perfection. Then it also gives a culture of the particular society. Also, it gets a treatment without any side effects, permanent cure. As I said, that is a perfect. Who are these Siddhars? These Siddhars we call as a Siddhargal in Tamil. Siddhars generally we call. They are the premier scholars of the system in ancient times. Most of them that we are going to discuss about, there are actually many Siddhars. Particularly, we are going to concentrate on these 18 Siddhars who contributed from this southern part of India, who actually found the foundation for Siddha system of medicine. So they formed the system of medicine, which actually formed by these Siddhas. So that we call that as a Siddha medicine in simple. Okay, nowadays you can see this Siddha medicine, medical setups have been followed in all over India. Even in the COVID period also, Siddha medicine has a curing percentage of 100. That is 100% patient have been cured. They have a very good record of curing infected people also. Many Siddha government is actually focusing, both central government and state government are focusing on this type of Siddha medicine nowadays. Once we started using this type of medicine, actually we will love this one because it has been given in a form of a food. So it is a very interesting Siddha medicine. Most of the participants also may have used this one, may have also followed this one. And let us see the history of this Siddha. It is difficult to trace the beginning of this ancient system. We know actually where it is started. It began with man and may end with him. We do not know. Particularly giving a name of any individual as a founder of the system or ancestors. Ancestors wisely given this origin to a particular creator. They did not give the name to a particular creator. So we do not know exactly where this origin is. But in a tradition, in a stories, it has been told that it was Lord Shiva who unfolded the knowledge of Siddha system of medicine to his considered Lord Parvati, who handed it down to Nandi Devar in turn, and he is turn given that entire tradition to 18 Siddhas that was believed. Okay. Therefore, also maybe it is called as Shiva Sampradayam, that means the tradition of Shiva, or Siddha Sampradayam. That is another name for this Siddha system also. Right, let us go for this 18 Siddhas, also called as a Munivargal in Tamil, how much they have contributed to these particular concepts. Let us see that they are holy saints of India. They were just normal people who had the will to understand the principles of human life. They wanted to understand the principles of human life. Therefore, they can mold themselves to conquer they attain the semi-divine state. That is their motivation. That is what they wanted to do actually. They attained this spiritual perfection through rigorous practice and experimentation. They did very tough practice and experimentation. They did keep on doing some experimentation to get a end result. Then they attained this spiritual perfection. So we may think that what is the need of doing this one? Why we do go for this spiritual perfection? Why should we attain this spiritual perfection? And why should we do this rigorous practice and experimentation? That is the question. What is the necessity to lead a such a life? Why not we be normal? Why not we go and come as other persons? That one. So these Siddhas has different concept as a whole. They thought that if a person even lives for 100 years, this lifespan of 100 years is not enough to learn. So they thought that the first thing, main theme of Siddhas was to increase the lifespan of a human or a living person, so that we have a time to learn more. That is the main concept of them. So they thought that the lifespan, which is normal human beings' average life, is not enough to learn something. So they wanted to learn more. Lifespan of mankind, so that if you increase the lifespan of the mankind, they can see they can master many forms of arts and interests. That is what they thought. That is what they wanted to live. They knew the fact that body and soul were the prime importance. Okay, and indeed they form the core, which supports one to reach their goals. So to reach a goal, we want to form a core inside our body. Whenever you teach something or you read something, it has to be reach both our body and the soul. As I said, this one type of a treatment which actually concentrates also not only on the body, also on the soul of, so that we can treat both soul and the body. That is why they formed the rigid lifestyle for themselves to see these goals. It is not easy to attain this particular perfection. We know that perfection, sometimes we think this there is no meaning for this word perfection, because nothing is perfect in this world. But if you want to reach that perfection with zero error, so we have to follow some rigid lifestyle. So these siddhas have to follow this rigid lifestyle for themselves to seek these wonderful goals. What did these siddhas do? Siddhas do, and what they learned, and what they transformed from one people to another. They transformed spiritual and yogic practice, attained immense knowledge and experience in Vaidyam. We call that as a medicine. Jyotiram, that is astrology. You can see we have a special session on astrology in this particular FDP program also. We have Dr. Balasubramanian will be presenting on this concept of astrology separately. And Mandrigam, it is called as tantric practices. Yogam, that is meditation and yogic exercises. We do have a session on this also, meditation and yogic exercises also. So we just to follow what, give some of the examples of what we learn from this siddhas and all. And Jnanam, that is knowledge about the Almighty. Also, we do have a session about this also in our faculty development program. In this session, we share the knowledge about the Almighty, and also the temples, what we learn from the temples, everything. These siddhas actually believed in a holistic concept. They looked everything as a whole. Okay, perfection, whole. It is a concept where everything completed, which is a completed concept. That is why accordingly they said food is medicine, medicine is food, unave marandu, marande unavu. That means if you take food, if you consume food in a proper way, that itself becomes a medicine. And medicine, we think that vice versa, we think that medicine is food. So it is a very simple concept where we follow everything. Even the food becomes a medicine. So it is a very simple type of lifestyle where we need not go for a huge amount of taking inputs from various medicines and all. Just we follow a regular and a simple food system, then it itself becomes a medicine. Next, another concept which they have taught us is sound mind makes the sound body. Actually, in Tamil, it means Manamadu Semmayanal Mandiram Sebika Vendam. That means actually, if you keep your mind very clear and open, actually you need not go for say any kind of prayers or even something. You need not go for some kind of tantra or mantra to learn. That is not enough. So just you keep your mind open and peaceful, open to everyone. Then it is enough to equal to prayers. That's what they said, that one. So keep your mind very clear, open up. Then that gives us very good lifestyle. That's what they said. Sound minds makes sound body. Let us start with some of the 18 siddhas actually. So the first one, Agatyar, is the comes into our mind. Is actually considered as the father of Tamil literature, from where we got this language, great language Tamil came from. He first actually compiled the grammar called Agatya. Is believed to be direct disciple of Lord Shiva. There is also a story, many of them may have heard that one, when the marriage happened for Lord Shiva and Parvati in the Himalayas. Then entire world was moving towards that marriage, so that the earth got unbalanced, and we got a tilt on the other side. So Lord Shiva himself asked Agastya to move from there and to go to the south, so that the world gets balanced. That's a story we have heard about him. So he is considered as a direct disciple of Lord Shiva himself. He is a very specialized guru in languages, alchemy, medicine, meditation, and spirituality. That means particularly in yogam and jnanam. All his work has been recorded, and still we have a lot of things to read from him. There are 96 books believed to be authored by Agathir, including classical works of him. Some of them, let me say, Vaidyasikhamani concentrates on particularly diseases, 300, Mani 400, Sivajalam, Sakti Jalam. These are some of the main concepts literature he have been. So he have written many about medicine, meditation, and spirituality himself. It is believed that healing spirit of Agatya hovers around the mountains of the Kutralam. Kutralam also a wonderful tourist spot of southern part of Tamil Nadu. You can see there. Actually, we do believe there are lots of plants and herbs still there. That is why people used to go there. Particularly, they take mentally ill people there. They used to go to Kutralam. They take a bath in that river, though, so that they will give they believe that they gets cured, because the water which flows there comes over this particular herbs and plants. You can see there, whenever you go very near to that Kutralam, that place, even we can see, we can feel that we have a very peaceful and peacefully get a peaceful mind. It's a wonderful tourist spot. Whenever everyone gets a chance to visit Tamil Nadu, particularly southern part of Tamil Nadu, definitely you should go to Kutralam. And there we still believe that the healing spirit, he stayed there. So the healing spirit of this Agathir still believes there to be, and wonderful place to meditate, wonderful tourist spot also. Definitely it is a first to go visit in Tamil Nadu. Then let us see Tirumular. He is also called as a Prince of Mystics. He is said to be disciple of Nanditevar. His masterpiece works are Tirumandiram, which deals with the body and soul, and also Saiva Siddhantam, one of his great work. His hypothesis on atomic energy is, we cannot believe what he has said. He did that atom can be split into two parts. He said in those days, I don't know how can now we do that one, but he has spoken about that in those days. Even he talked about in nuclear energy, some of them, and nowadays we call that as a nanotechnology in recent times. Actually, he has concentrated more on this hypothesis on atomic energy, nuclear energy. He actually recorded that atoms can be split into two. And he's only Siddhar, is that particular Siddhar who emphasizes on the sound mind, that's a sound body. That means if you keep your mind clean and peaceful, no need of medicine. Everything is cured by ourselves. Our body itself is a system who has a capability of curing itself. That's what he taught us, by which we can actually mortality, you can achieve mortality. There are also, he taught some Kalpa Yoga procedures also. It's main of his literature work are contributing. It is helpful in combating diseases such as myocardial infarction, degenerative diseases, and depressive disorders. These are the main things he concentrated on. Literature has been also recorded, written by him. Regular practice of yoga, according to him, will undoubtedly improve the overall health of a human system. His place of samadhi is believed to be at Chidambaram, one of the famous temples of southern India. Chidambaram Nataraja temple, Shiva temple we know, and still people believe that the Shiva statue and the foot of the Shiva is the exact center of the earth. Next, Bhogar, one of very known Siddhar, is considered as a descendant of Tirumular. It's believed that Bogar traveled up to China and propagated the spiritual philosophy in China. Still people still follow the philosophy of Bogar in China. Some of the people follow this one. The statue of Lord Muruga, which is kept in Palani, was created, contains Navapasana, that means 9 arsenic compounds. Very, very, very rare statue. You can see there. People once they used to go to Palani once, they used to visit again and again. They become followers of Lord Muruga. Wonderful statue, wonderful place to visit, and people used to visit there. This particular statue is actually created by Bogar himself. It is made of 9 arsenic, 9 different rare compounds. He also contributed to the field of alchemy, medicine, and yoga. His contributions on synthesis of mercury, as I said, is written, recorded. The synthesis of mercury, mercurial compounds, and arsenic compounds are very noteworthy. He is believed to author more than 42 works on Siddha medicine. He is believed to authored more than 42 works on Siddha medicine, and these are still practiced nowadays. You know that Lord Muruga himself is a Siddhar himself. He attained the Samadhi at Palani. Palani is a sacred place in Tamil Nadu. Palani temple for Lord Muruga is a very famous tourist spot. Whenever we go there, we can see there is also a Bogar temple is built for Bogar himself, Bogar Samadhi. Still, it is a place to visit. Next, we can see Konganar, another Siddhar. He is considered to be a son of a Bogar. His period is between 4th to 5th centuries. He's lived probably in Kongunadu, that is, we can see west part Tamil Nadu. Written more than 40 books that deals with alchemy and elixir, that is a Mupu of life. Okay, he thought about the life, how it changes with respect to life. These are the things he taught us, he recorded. He also contributed to philosophy, medicine, and spiritual practices. He attained his Samadhi at Tirupati. Next, Therayar. Therayar is considered to be the master of many fields like astrology, mysticism, alchemy, medicine, and language. His style of scholarship was very important. His language, his slang, his writing, a different type of writing was very impressive, very catchy. So that was made him a special person. Mastered the language. He also written this literature in many languages: Kannada, Malayalam, Tamil, Tulu, and Sanskrit. His guru was Dharma Saumyar. His work on classification of diseases is noteworthy. That means how can we classify a disease whenever based on the symptoms in the initial stage. It is still is a very good lesson. So people used to classify the disease by looking at the face of pulses, looking at the pulse even, how to classify a disease. That is a very good literature. Next, Korakar. He is also called as a Korakanadar. His major contributions are Korakar Brahmanyanam 1, Korakar Brahmanyanam Suttiram, and Korakar Karpa Suttiram. Used Kancha Korakar Muli, that is called as an Indian hemp, in his preparations like a Purna like hemp in Surnam, and so the herb is named after his name, Korakar. And Karuvurar, he is also called as a Karuvur Devar. His place of birth is believed to be in Karuvur. Idaikadar is considered to be his disciple. His main works are Karuvurar Vadakavyam, Karuvurar Sivanyana Budagam, and Thiru Isaipa. He made a significant contribution in the construction of Tanjavur Temple. You know, Tanjavur Temple built 1,000 years back by the great king of Rajaraja Chola. And during the time of a building is this construction of Tanjavur, one of our heritage, he helped that one, significant contribution in designing. In his memory, a special shrine has been created in Tanjavur Big Temple. You can see still now, it's called as a Siddhar Sannidhi. Idaikadar is also known as Idaikadar Siddhar. His place of birth is Thiru Idaikodu. His place of Samadhi also there. His contribution towards Rasavadam and Kayakalpam is remarkable. Next, Chattamuni Siddhar is also known as Kambali Chattamuni, Kailasa Chattamuni, and Sattanadar. Is believed to be a Sri Lankan origin. Sundaranadar is believed to be his disciple. His major works are Sattamuni Pininyana 100, Sattamuni Vadakavyam, Sattamuni Vadasuthiram 200, Sattamuni Jnana Vilak 51. His contributions are mainly in the fields of alchemy and 96 Tattvas. Sundaranar is also known as Surapa Mendra Siddhu. Sattamuni is considered to be his guru. His contributions are Sundaranar Sivanyana Yogam 32, Sundranar Vakya Sutram 64. His expertise in preparation of Chinnam is of a great astonishing. Preparation of Chinnam is a part of a Siddha medicine. He is a master in that. His Samadhi is believed to Ramadevar is also called as Yakob. You may remember this name. His place of birth is believed to be in Podigai Hills. Poladayar is considered as his guru. His major works in Ramadevar 1000. He also contributed to the development of Kayakalpa. His probable place of Samadhi in Alagarmala. Next, Pambati Siddhar. Pambati means a snake actually. Chatamuni is considered to be a Pambati Siddhar Guru. 8 unique powers, Attama Siddhis, we call that as, of Siddhas are mentioned in his divine work. His contributes are related with the Jnana Siddhi, starting with Ad, means dancing snake. His probable place of Samadhi is Sankaran Koil, which is in the southern part of Tamil Nadu. Next, Machamuni Siddhar is also known as Nandi Siddhar. His place of birth is believed to be Machai Desam, that is Pandya Kingdom, the place of a part of a region where Pandyas ruled. Sundaranadar is considered to be his disciple. His main contribution is Machendra Nadar and Nundi Siddhar Padal. Still these songs are available. From there we can learn many things. His place of Samadhi is believed to be Tiruparankuntram. Mumbai Siddhar, place of birth and Samadhi in Mayavaram. His works are more towards spiritual bliss and Jnana Yoga. His major contribution is Kudambi Siddhar. Everything, all the medicines and literary work, everything has been recorded as a song. Alagani Siddhar is also known as Alagai Siddhar. Adekadar is considered to be his guru. His major contribution is Siddhar Jnana Kovai, a very good literary work. His place of Samadhi is in Nagapattinam. He also covered all the aspects of the Siddha and the Siddha medicine. Then Agappai Siddhar, Korakar is considered to be his guru. His contribution is mainly about Jnana Siddhi. His place of Samadhi is believed to be in Tiruvalankadu. Nandidevar, actually he is considered as a guru of gurus. Nandidevar is also considered to be direct disciple of Lord Shiva. His contribution is Nandi Kalanyanam 1000. His place of Samadhi is Sri Sailam at Kalahasti, that is near Tirupati. He is considered as I said, gurus of gurus. He is a very good contribution in taking this Siddha system, Siddha medicine, way of teaching everything, still we know. Kaka Pusundar is also known as Pusundar. Agathir is considered to be his guru. His major contributions are Pasundar Mainyana Vilakam 80 and Pasundar Jnanam 90. His place of Samadhi is in Nagamani. As you can see, our Indian country and culture has various gurus and saints. These 18 Siddhas are contributed to huge amount in the form of Siddha medicine. When we have an opportunity to read this one, still doctors used to follow these written, they have practiced. As I said, this one, they simply did not write this contributed medicine system. They actually practiced this one, trained themselves. They have repeatedly practiced everything, and based on this only, they attained this stage. They have given us, I don't know how much exactly they have written and how much exactly we have now. Many of them may be missed out, but this type of a system medicine is very useful, very effective. The persons who might have used this one may look upon this one, they may see this one. They have written this in, as literary work. Medicine has been taught as a songs, so that if you even remember that very easily, it can be easily transformed from person to in person when this written in a form of a songs, so that it is very easy to follow everything. With this, I take this opportunity to just, there is actually another session called Spirituality and Temples that will be contributing to the system of temples. So just I might like to contribute only on only one temple, which is very important. I think it's an opportunity to share about that one. Many people, participants actually might have visited here, may know about this temple, but I take this opportunity just to give an insight of our proud temple of Tamil Nadu, Brahadiswara temple. It is located in Tanjavur. Many given this for Periya Koil because it is a huge in construction. Periya means huge. Rajarajeshwara temple is its holy name, original name, and also called as Rajarajeshwaram. It is also called as Tanjai Peruvudayar Koil. It is example, a very good example, Tamil architecture from Chola period. It was built by Tamil king, the great Rajaraja Chola, and completed in 1010 AD. The temple tower Vimanam is made of 216 feet, that is 66 meter high, and it is tallest in the world. And the Kumbh apex, it is structure on the top which is kept of the temple is carved out of a single rock and weighs around 80 tons. Believe me, which is kept on the top of the temple is 80 tons. No rocks you can find at this district or near this from where they have taken this one and how they took this 80 tons of weight as a single rock to the top of the temple. The construction building technique really it is amazing. And also because it is a Lord Shiva temple, definitely there will be sacred bull, that is Nandi. It is also carved out of a single rock measuring about 16 feet long and 13 feet height at the entrance. It is also made up of a single rock. The entire temple structure is made up of granite. Some of the interesting facts about this temple, let us see. The original name of the deity was Rajarajeshwara temple, as I said. It was Marathas who gave the name Brihadishwara or the great Ishwara. We know that in Sanskrit, Briha means a big, Ishwara, Lord Ishwara, it means. So, big Ishwara because the statue, the Shivalingam which is kept inside is one of the biggest in the world. That is why they call it as a Brihadishwara temple. It is also made up of a single stone. The main temple is entirely built on granite, as I said. More than 130,000 tons of granite is said to be used to build this entire temple. The Nandi is also built of a single stone. As I said, the main Vimanam, which is at about 200 feet, it is 80 tons, which is been carried to 200 feet high. You cannot believe how they did that during that period. This inspiration for the king Rajaraja Chola actually came from his visit to Sri Lanka because he was a southern commander for his father Sundara Chola when he was ruling the Chola kingdom. So during that period, he has thought when he came to power, he did that. We can see the portrait in the temple that Rajaraja Chola paying obedience to Lord Nadarajar. This is the first ever instance of a royal portrait also we can see. The inscriptions in the temple pointed towards Kunjaramallan Rajaraja Perunthachan, a chief architect. Still his name has been carved there. His successors are still now survive this day and practice the art of Vastu. We call that Vastu Shastra. They are the followers of this great architect Perunthachan. And as I said, you can see the huge amount of 80-ton stone box is kept over the top of the temple, and the Nandi temple, the size of the Nandi which is in the bottom, and it showed how big it is. And we can see depictions of Nartakis or dancers showing 81 of the 180 Karanas, that is the synchronous movements of the Bharatanatyam are carved here. So it shows how much importance they have given to this particular arts and also how they have worshipped this one. They thought that this is spent a huge amount of time for this particular art of living. And these Karnas are a part of Karnas mentioned in Natya Shastra or Bharadamuni, Saga Bharata also. This is a very good platform for the dancers. You can see these depictions are first of their kind in Indian temples. And also you can see the inscriptions also mention different kinds of wells which is made up of stones. It shows us total of 23 different types of pearls, 11 varieties of diamonds and rubies are mentioned in inscriptions even in those days. They showed the different varieties even in the carved stones. The earlier design of plan was actually did in the period of 1921 AD, indicating this took multiple, that means it completed in only 2010. So that means it took a huge amount of period and this design plan from one king to another one, their followers and also the architects maybe also followed that one for various generations also. As I take only some few minutes to share about this great king Rajaraja Chola, because we talk about spiritual gurus and leaders. Definitely he is one of the leaders who emphasized on spirituality. That is, we built more than 1,080 Shiva temple all over his kingdom. So that is made him a great leader, great warrior himself. So one of the leader who inspired, still inspires many of them. A leader or a king who never lost a battle in any form. He conquered even Southeast Asia. So that is the some of the few words about him. Foundation of Chola Kingdom, mighty empire. His period was from ruling period was 1985 to 2014. He is a very great patron of arts and religion. He also a very good political genius himself. He built this Tanjavur temple, as I already said. This one is also known as name was Arulmozhivarman. Later he got this Rajaraja Cholan, Ponniyin Selvan, various names he got because of various period of time. His gods Sivapada Sekara, Telangana Kolakala, Ponniyin Selvan, as I said, it means son of river Kaveri. Period is 1985 to 2014. Tamil. He got various titles after keep on winning the battles. Parakesari, Rajakesari, Mummudi Cholan. He was born at 1947, died the year of 1914. His predecessor was Uttama Cholan. Successor was Rajendra Cholan, even a great warrior equal to him. He even went to conquer up to Himalayas. And his wife, his name is Vanati. Father Sundara Chola, mother Vanan Mahadevi, brother Aditya too, sister very great. She was the minister of that period, Kundavi Devi, daughter, and he has a daughter and a son. He followed very strong belief in Hinduism and Shaivism. Southern wars he beat all the Singalas. He conquered Sri Lanka, Chera, Pandyas, everything. He campaigned in Kerala. Defeated Cheras in the battle, capturing Udagai. He conquered Sri Lanka, as I said, northern wars. And Ganga war, he beat everyone. War against Venki. Then during a war against Venki, a ruler named Bhima was killed by Rajaraja. Then his son defeated the Andhra king Bhima and invaded the kingdom of Kalinga. As I said, he was a great warrior himself. And he was a very naval part of Chola kingdom, was known for still days. We may read that he actually traveled with 1,000 elephants to conquer Southeast Asia. We cannot imagine how he carried 1,000 elephants through ships. Constructed the great Tanjavur temple. He has a very great belief in religious policy. Built, as I said, 1,800 Shiva temples. Still it is maintained, and also great scholar literature has been done based on this temple. One of the construction, still it looks very new and young. Everyone has to visit this temple whenever you get a chance, because there is a very spiritual secrets also lies in this temple. As I said, he concentrated on literature. Nambi under Nambi, a priest, led a mission to recover certain names. Nambi discovered the scripts in the Thillai Nataraja temple, Chidambaram, the form of a cadijam leaves that is written in the leaves in those days. Those are being found by Nambi under Nambi and the follower asked by king himself. So I thank this end this with this presentation. I thank you for all the participants for taking a part in this particular session. This is the session where I just gave an introduction. Just all the participants, many participants I have seen, they are well experienced, very specialized, knowledgeable persons in specific areas, starting from High Court judges, professors, scientists, even teachers, professors, everything. They have very good knowledge, even TypeScript management teachers, everything. So participants may know much more. So if you want to share something, definitely you can share with us so that we also can learn from you. As I said, anyone can be gurus to anyone. So it is a part of learning and teaching. So if you know something, you can definitely share to us. If you want to share to us, definitely give us feedback. Thank you for the participants for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you for the organizers also. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Ranjit, for your excellent presentation on this Indian tradition, as well as you have explained about all the concepts of ancient Siddhas, as well as you have explained about the contributions of 18 Siddhas. So in fact, the power of Siddhas and contribution of Siddhas paves the way for all magical things, starting from starting from medicine, healing, and to attain all higher aspects. That is to in order to connect with our higher soul and the divine energy. Also, in order to achieve oneness with the oneness with the higher soul, right? Also connect oneness with the higher soul. So this particular concept will be highly useful. So I hope so your presentation, right? I hope your presentation all the participants, and so we have received many positive feedback regarding your presentation. So now it is open for the participants. In fact, this is information to all the participants. How we have planned for it means, so out of this 2 hours session, so we have planned for one and a half hour session as presentation. Some 90 to 100 minutes we can have a presentation, and we have decided to dedicate the remaining 15 to 20 minutes to have an one-to-one discussion for the expert team members. So participants, you may feel free to interact with the expert keynote speakers, and also in our WhatsApp group and chat group, many participants have requested us to share the PPT, and this is for your kind information that we are recording the entire program. So in fact, we are recording this entire program. So and we have planned to publish everything in YouTube, and we will be sending you the link of the YouTube programs probably at the end of the program. So now your mics has been enabled. So everyone, you can unmute by yourself. And now the keynote speaker, Dr. Ranjit, is also with us. So now it is open for discussion. So you can unmute by yourselves. The option is being enabled. So participants, you can unmute by yourselves, and the keynote speaker, Dr. Ranjit, is with us. You can just have some discussion with him for the next 15 minutes.
Sir, in
Yes,
your
sir.
presentation, some of the slides were missing, especially the 6th and the 8th and the 16th slide. When we were talking about the Siddhas, no? So some of the slides were missing in between. So can we get the slides?
That's what we have told, sir. We will consolidate everything, and we will give you the complete material. That's not an issue, sir. And those slides might have been missed due to some network issue. So there is a time lag between our presentation and your view. So it may be it may have a lag for about 10 to 20 seconds. So during that particular time, so he might have shifted to another slide. Anyway, we will share all the presentations, sir. Surely.
Thank you.
Sir, good morning, Ranjit sir.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, sir.
Good
Ranjit sir
morning,
is
sir.
online. Yes.
Presentation, sir. This is Professor Vipinendran from Anna University, main campus.
Yes, sir.
Sir, there is a lot of interesting, things which you mentioned. Many
Yes, sir.
people say Siddhas in some form are alive even now, deep in the forest. How far you think, sir? Is it true? Some research has been done on that, can you throw some light on it, sir?
Yes, sir. Many Siddhars. Actually, I said this one. We have concentrated only on this 18 Siddhars because of the huge amount of literature work. There are still more Siddhars. We can see that one of our colleagues have mentioned that they have a Siddhar named Karadi Siddhar who lived in their near park. And also I think there is a wide vast opening in this area. We can do that one, but we are being an engineering we work in engineering college, and engineers, and we mostly concentrate on that aspect. But if you are definitely we do have a very scope on this particular areas. Definitely we can work on this one. There are many siddhas in now also. We can see there a hill called Kolli Hills, that is we call as a Kollimalai near Salem. Still people believe that a lot of siddhas are there and a lot of medical herbs are there. Some of the dense forest we cannot move inside, so we can think that, and some of them evenly afraid to go there alone. Because even though it is a tourist spot, and we do believe that there are still some siddhas there. As I said, this one Kuttalam is a place where we can still feel the emotions. So definitely for research, this the area, it is wide open. Definitely we can do lot of system. As I said, this one, most of them are recorded, but I think that many we do miss, I think, the written format or so we can, if you have a time, and definitely we can research on this one, sir. Definitely there is scope on this one. We can do.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This is Dr. Renuka from NIIT Chennai. Can you hear me, sir? Ranjit, sir? Yeah, just very happy to know the history of the Siddhas, and especially the complete saints, and it was amazing. Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. We are grateful to you. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning,
I'm Alamelu from Sastra University. Thank you for a very informative live session. We come to know about a lot of new information regarding this. And my basic question to you, sir, like as we are academicians, we are equally, doing a lot of services to ourselves, to our institution, to a greater community, that is students. How far this kind of knowledge, this kind of information is going to help us in shaping us? That's my basic question. That's the reason I've joined this FDP. Can you just brief it?
Yes, ma'am. As I said, this one of the very great quote of sound mind is a sound body. That means that if you practice this kind of a system, definitely we have a very mind. We are open to everything to learn. These in turn definitely it change ours. The way we behave. Also, we teach everything. We should not look at this as a different subject or something. It is like a life skill. Once we practice this one, we can feel that so that by practicing, when we teach our students, then we can actually experience the feeling. As I said, this one, I myself felt this one after visiting some of the places, particularly ISKCON temple in Bangalore. Actually changed my entire life and belief after that one. And also, I actually practiced, had an experience with the Siddha medicine itself. It gives 100% everything. So, as I said, it's a life skill management. We practice and we look upon this. It gives us open mind concept, so that it gives us a very good learning and teaching object. So, our mind will be very open. So, sometimes we get. Sometimes we are not motivated. We can motivate ourselves. Some we can help our students, colleagues, friends, everyone. Based on this one, because there is a solution for everything in this Siddha system. That is what I'm saying. Not only for curing the body, it is for curing the mind also. So one of the Siddhas has even said this one: if you keep your mind open, you need not go for any kind of prayers even. So you need not think about the God, or you need not go for mantra. You need not pray anything. So it's simply with the open mind, you can do anything you want. That is what they have taught us. Most of them are written as in the form of a songs, as I already said this one. So I think it is our duty to transform this to peoples who do not know about much about this one, next generation. And we keep on reading this one. If we keep definitely, ma'am, I say that one. This is just an introduction. If we keep on watching our entire sessions, definitely at the end of the Friday, 5th day, you will feel a definite transformation in yourself. That is what we are assuring from the starting of this program. Just attend this program is open-ended, is keeping because we are going to cover the entire areas. There are a different type of specific speakers who are specialized in specific areas and all. This only not for academic purpose. This is a being. This is life skill. Definitely, it will help our state of mind. As I said, in the turn, we can influence our and we can help others also along with us. It helps us, friends, family members, children, our students, everything. We can definitely change the entire world by following this.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your detailed information.
Yeah, now other participants, in fact, can also raise their queries, or if they want to have some public or common discussion, also it is open for us. And also, I would like to add a few points with the Dr. Ranjit to clarify the queries, clarify not the queries, the points raised by Professor Alamelu Madam. So in fact, so all sorts of these programs would highly be useful in order to purify ourselves. So that is the ultimate point. So whenever a person is able to see what is within himself, right? That is the main point. So then it will be easier for him to see all the views and all the perspectives of any other person in any relationship or any contact or whatsoever it may be. So in fact, everything starts with the inner peace of mind, and hence when inner clarity comes in, so with the person, and definitely his insights and his intuition would be of the higher ends. So in the forthcoming sessions, we will be discussing all these titles in a detailed fashion. And now it is again open for the participants. So participants, so you can interact now. ஜோதி மேடமா எனக்கும் கூப்பிட்டாங்க. So okay, so then I hope the session was quite informative for you, for all the professors and academicians who are available in this group. So now it is 11:30.
Sir,
Now it is 11:30.
Sir, good
Yes,
morning,
sir.
sir.
Yes, good afternoon, sir.
Sir, sorry for the interruption. This is Dr. Murali Mohan from KSR.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, first of all, I would congratulate Dr. Ranjit sir for his informative session, and I think he could recall all the siddhas and all the temples which we are present in our South India and in our country India. Sir, my question is, sir, can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Sir,
you can
Ranjit,
continue.
Sir, Ranjit sir, since we are speaking about the Siddhas and Siddha medical system, but nowadays
Yes, sir.
but nowadays these Siddha system didn't have that much impact on people, right? So in the present scenario, we are in the COVID situation, right? So in this, for the past 2 or 3 months only, most of the peoples are speaking about this Siddha tradition, right? So to treat the COVID patients and all other diseases, right? So, sir, can you suggest any ideas to establish this kind of our tradition Siddha system, Siddha treatment to this world?
Yes, sir. I think government should take more initiative towards Siddha system because it is proven. You can see that for treating these COVID patients, the Siddha system of entire setup was given in our Salem government arts college system, where the patients who have admitted, everyone, not even a single person gone back, everyone has been recovered. This has been put up in the news and all. I think people also has to keep a belief in this one because this is the oldest form of our system, and government should take more initiative. They can build more more research centers, particularly for research centers, and also hospitals treating and people who are doing research. They should be encouraged in this area, specific areas. Also, students has to come forward to take this as an education part of the system. I think we should teach this in school level itself. We do have a separate curriculum or something for this Siddha system, so that everyone knows the value of every herb or medicine. So it has to be started from the school education itself. Maybe we can recommend it. That's all we can do. But government, I think, has a good view on this particular system. If we more concentrate more on this one, definitely we have a good fortune. But as a people like us, we do read about this one, or we watch something. It's our part to share about this one, our experience, whether we teach this one, because I used to consult about this one with doctors wherever we teach. They used to have also say that Siddha medicine has a very good point, and also that is 100% curable. Our system has to be scaled from school, sir. And as far as development, research and development, we should more papers has to be published, more work has to be done in this area, and that is what I expect. And the government has to, we have to motivate these scholars working in this area. More education systems, starting from school, it has to be added, sir. That's what I think.
Yes, definitely, Dr. Ranjit, sir. I think
Yes,
your
sir.
session would create more impact on this Siddha system, and it will create more belief about our traditional Siddha treatment. So thanks for your wonderful presentation, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, participants, so thank you very much for your presence in the first session. So now it is, I think the correct time, the exact time, it is 11:30, right? So we can break for about 15 minutes, and we will start session 2 by 11:45 a.m. exactly. So the second session will be the introduction to human bioenergy fields, so introduction to stars, auras, and we will also know how to feel the energy within our hands. We will do some simple experiments and exercises for about 15 to minutes. So I will be handling the next session. So I'm also in fact very interested to deliver the next session for all the expert members who are in this group. So let us take a break for about 15 minutes, and I request all the participants to join shortly by 11:45 a.m. Thank you very much.